So, welcome down to the channel if you're new, but if you're coming back, welcome back. Today's video, I'm going to be testing the new Mizuno Pro irons, 3 new models. Let's see how good they look, and most importantly, do they feel like a Mizuno? Right, so the 3 new models, Mizuno Pro 221, 223 and 225, replacing kind of the older models. Now, we've heard MP for years, but looking at the back, we can see very different with the Mizuno Pro, which is obviously what MP stands for, but much more the signature. So a bit of a change in visual for logos and things. But 3 different models. The 221 very much a pure blade, the 223 kind of a small cavity, and the 225 a hollow head. Now, probably historically, manufacturers talk about maybe the 221 being for the really good player, the 223 being for the maybe low to mid handicapper, and the 225 being the higher handicapper. But as a coach and a fitter, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think obviously as we go up through the models, as I hit the shots, there'll be more forgiveness in the design. But if you're a very, very good ball striker, even on a slightly higher handicap than the manufacturers might suggest, it might be that you'll look at a different model based on how you strike the ball. But I'm going to pop them down, hit some shots, half a dozen shots with each one, look at some numbers, give you some feedback on how they perform. And like I said in the introduction, do they feel like a Mizuno? So we'll go for the 221 first. So traditional blade, muscle back from the back, lovely thin top line to look down on. Maybe not the smallest head on the market from a blade, but fantastic. And the 7-iron in this set, which, as we can see on the sole, 34 degrees. Now, this is the fitting iron, so your irons won't have that loft marked on there, but 34 degrees 7-iron. Let's hit some shots on TrackMan, give you some feedback on the Mizuno Pro 221. It does feel good. Feels very, very good. There's my little drawy one. Actually a little bit out the heel, so not absolutely flushed, but decent to start with. Again, I do like how that feels. So round about my normal clubhead speed with a 7-iron. Ball speed very solid at 116. Good smash factor. And really, for a 34 degree 7-iron, those first 2 shots, exactly what I would be looking for. Oh, that does feel super soft. See a nice straight one. Again, marginally towards the heel, but some good ball speed, good spin. And yeah, I mean, all in all there, the Mizuno Pro 221, love the look, love the feel. So let's just, off those half a dozen, let's look at kind of what my striking was like, which I know will be different player to player, but let's look at the averages that produced from those half dozen shots. Okay, so my ball striking was good. Just under 87 mile an hour ball speed, just under 116 mile an hour ball speed, smash factor at 1.33, more than happy with that. Launch at 18.9, spinning at 6,500 and carry at 157. So all in all, absolutely doing what I would want. Right, so that moves me into the Mizuno Pro 223. So when you look at the back, much more noticeably a cavity back, looking like a lot more technology than obviously the 221. But I like the look of that from the back. I think you put it down behind the golf ball. Definitely a bigger head, thicker top line. I always say for me personally, I prefer the thinner top line, but I understand the benefits that this would have. So 7-iron, 32 degrees, so 2 degrees stronger. So, but the CG in the head much, much lower. So I'm expecting to see maybe slightly lower spin, more ball speed and a little bit more distance. But yeah, it's out of the 2 so far, This is second place on looks, but let's hit the shots. Again, give you the feedback on feel and see how it performs. Right, so that wasn't a great strike. A little bit toey, good control, lots and lots of spin, maybe more spin than I thought, but we definitely saw a bit of a drop off on distance there. Now that one felt more solid, not massively, but ball speed jumping up. Again, spin very good, very similar numbers. So I definitely prefer the feel of the 221, but let's just work through these four and then look at some averages. It's a little bit pushy. Again, felt a solid strike. Yeah, out the middle. Pretty good on kind of performance there. Now, it was interesting, and I do see this with my testing, and this is definitely me as a personal thing. I generally find the smaller the head, the better I actually strike the ball. Now, comment below, is that a good thing or a bad thing? But it's sometimes for me, I feel like almost the bigger the head, I don't need to focus quite as much. So there was a miss hit in there. I'm going to leave that in, but I think towards the end, I might just deliberately just hit a couple of bad ones, see what the drop off is with the blade, with the 221. But let's look at the averages on the 223 and see how that performed. Right, so 87 mile an hour club head speed, just under 117 ball speed, smash at 1.33. Launched a little bit lower at 17.6, spun at 6,900 and carried 157. So some interesting results with the Mizuno Pro 223. Right, so that moves me on to the Mizuno Pro 225, or kind of the beast of the line that I would say. So, I mean, from the back, looks incredible, looks like more like the 221. So really looking like a muscle back, but hollow design. Down behind the golf ball, I would say only maybe a touch thicker than the 223, but certainly looking a longer blade from kind of toe to heel. So again, let's hit some shots on TrackMan. Now what I would say is, I'm obviously going through the models, I'm using the same shaft, so the Dynamic Gold 120, S300 in all three models. Now, potentially, that shaft might not be the best one in each model for me, but it's different or difficult when I'm testing and doing a video. If I do different shafts in them, people say it's not as similar as possible, and if I use the same shafts, they say not the best fitted. So just to let you know, I'm trying to keep as few variables as possible in here. But this on 7-iron at 30 degrees, as we can see on the sole, so stronger loft again. We'll be hoping for more distance, slightly lower spin. Definitely feels like it jumps off the face a little bit more. Now, interestingly, ball speed didn't really rocket up there, but some very impressive spin numbers for a 30 degree 7-iron. That one definitely not as good a strike, but we can see not really a huge drop off. So again, let's work through these a little quicker. Now that one didn't feel fantastic, maybe a little bit heavy. So yeah, a little higher up the club face. Be interesting to see there. I still got out there though, so that was good. So I would probably say, and I'm going to show you the averages just for the strike on that one. I would definitely say as I went up through the clubs, which in theory are more forgiving, I was probably less consistent with my ball striking. But let's look at the average for the Mizuno Pro 225. Then I'm going to put the averages next to each other, see how the clubs stack up. Look how good the dispersion was. Is that the club though, or is that me? And then I'm going to kind of give you a little overview, maybe hit a couple more with the blade with some miss hits, give you an overview of which type of player I think would suit which club. Right, so we could definitely see the ball striking wasn't quite as consistent, maybe a little bit as an average more towards the heel, but had that one a bit more out the toe. I swung it a little bit quicker and no real reason for that. Despite the ball striking not being as good, that ball speed at nearly 118, smash factor exactly the same, launching lower, but still some very, very impressive backspin, and the overall carry only being 163. Right, if we look at the averages there for the three models, so the club head speed, I got gradually quicker, not because I was trying to, but potentially there, maybe me thinking, right, the club's a little bit more forgiving, therefore I can swing a bit quicker. Even though the ball striking wasn't quite as good as I went through the models from 221, 223 and 225, the ball speed did gradually get quicker. But it only got quicker really because I swung quicker. We can see the smash factor exactly the same. The launch angles did go down. Now the really interesting thing for me there, and this is maybe where the shaft would come into question, is I actually got the most spin out of the 223, whereas you'd probably expect that out of the 221. But I mean, all in all, very consistent through the models. So maybe a little bit more down to how consistent a ball striker you are and what you prefer the look of. So we didn't see a massive difference in the distances there, but what we did see with my testing is that the 221 was actually the most accurate, followed by the 223 and followed by the 225. Now, definitely for me in my testing, that's very evident that the smaller head, I'm more consistent with my ball striking, therefore I generally get the ball going where I want, and that's why for this year I've gone back to something a little bit more requiring a good strike to give me that control. But you can see there, pretty decent with dispersion, but ultimately I think that comes more down to the golfer than the golf club. Right, so like I said, I'm just going to hit a few more with the 221 at the end, because obviously I struck it very consistently out the middle with the smaller, less forgiving head. So let's try and hit a couple of miss hits and just kind of see what the drop-off is with the least forgiving model in the lineup. Right, so we see that one out the toe, good club head speed. Decent drop off in ball speed though to 108. See that smash factor drop down, but still 153 carry is pretty impressive. Now again, toey and a little bit lower off the face. And again, I can see that ball speed, not up where the good strike is, but 109. Really low spins. That one's actually gone further. But do you know what? For a pretty, in theory, unforgiving iron, the Mizuno Pro 221 is actually pretty good. So you can see again, a little bit out the toe. That smash factor drops down. We see that higher launch, but still very good spin. And over 150 yards with that 34 degrees 7-iron. Right, so which club do I think suits which golfer? In my opinion, if you're a very good ball striker, as in you find the middle of the club face on a really regular basis, I do think the 221 is going to give you that looks, that feel, and kind of tick all the boxes. Now, what I would say, which was interesting in my testing, the 223 actually performed very, very well. And I think if you are a little bit off centre, that's definitely something you'd consider. Now, the golfer who maybe isn't as proficient with finding the middle of the club face, this one, the 225, should be the most forgiving. But I think all three models perform really, really well. So if you are in the market and the Mizuno Pro irons are the ones that you're considering, I would try all three. If you've got that opportunity, hit them, get some feedback. What I would say as well is because predominantly we fit round 7-irons, if the ball striking is a little bit off with 7, but you feel you can get away with it, as you go into those mid to longer irons, you'll probably see the ball striking be less consistent. So that's where you might go for one of the more forgiving models, or you might even blend the set. But if you're doing that, talk to your fitter, get some good feedback. And honestly, if you put any of these three in your bag, you will not be disappointed. I'm super impressed. Am I impressed enough though for some of these to go in my bag? So guys, hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, like it and share it, comment below. Thanks as ever for watching. There's another video just there that YouTube thinks you're going to enjoy. Hopefully catch up with some of you guys down here soon. Stay in contact.